everyone, I am Ainah Mae Umali from BSTM 1101. For today's video, I'm going to present my infographics about eliminating risk or hazard in the hospitality industry. But now, what is hazard? Hazard refers to the source of potential harm or danger, and risk refers to the possibility that harm or occur when exposed to hazard. And now, there are common safety hazard in the hospitality industry. Number 1 is manual handling. Number 2 is slips, trips, and falls. Number 3 is hazardous chemicals. Number 4 is burns, scalds, and cuts. Number 5 is electrical.
In the hospitality industry, there is common suspected workplace risk and business risk, and those are found in reception areas including hotels. It is need to be addressed immediately to ensure that the risk is decreases in harming employees, stakeholder, and guests with a mindset of public accountability issues. A hotel operating in climate control today should only accept that recognizing and controlling health and safety risk is a normal in a business expenses. So there is safety hazard in the hospitality industry. Number 1 is the manual handling. Manual handling of loads, handling of manual material involve the use of the human body to lift, lower, fill, empty, or carry loads. The load can be activated or lifeless, and most manufacturing or distribution system requires some manual handling tasks. So the manual handling ensures that the employee undergo a training when they join to the workplace. They need to know how to safely use and carrying out their tasks. Think about the working and organize it to avoid lifting and moving. So there is a mechanical aids, which is the hand trolley, pallet jack, and cart. It is an option in manual handling if the items are heavy. Trolley are an incredibly practical material handling solution for transporting both light and heavy items. They increases warehouse efficiently by allowing employees to quickly and efficiently load, transport, and locate the items. So, in manual handling, 50% of all injuries in the hotel sector were incurred while performing some type of manual handling related work. It can cause back pain, knees, elbows, muscle tears, and sprains. One of the keys to preventing back or muscle strain is to ensure that the load is lifted correctly by using your legs and height, not your back, and keeping the item close to the body. So manual handling might not be fatal, but the harm can be long-term and painful. Next is slip, trips, and falls. It is defined as falling at the same level due to this situation. Slip is a loss of balance when there is too little friction between the foot and the floor, like tapping on a wet or oily surface. So slip, trips, and falls, for example, is there is a water spilled on the floor, or there is the item that is leaking and it is not immediately wiped off due to the large number of the customer. There is a possibility that there is slippery because it was not immediately caught or not immediately seen. Slips, trips, and fall. So slips, trips, and falls ensure that all the staff wear proper uniform for the task. Clean up the floor as soon as possible, and don't forget to use the signpost if the floor is wet. Use the best lighting for stair using to secure people can see ahead clearly. So in slips, trips, and falls, so the important thing, cleaning the area that has a water or the oily surface is there is a signpost, because the sign's purpose is to prevent the people from falling and slipping over. Wet floor sign can often lose their effectiveness in misuse. Once the area has been cleaned and is safe to pedestrian footfall, then wet floor sign should be removed immediately. Next is hazardous chemicals. Harmful chemicals are substances that can cause adverse health effects such as poisoning, respiratory problems, skin rashes, allergic reaction, allergic sensitivity, cancer, and other health problems from exposure. So most of the hazardous chemicals are used in a hotel context in terms of cleaning agent. In the kitchen, all the chemicals or cleaning material are need to stored in the right place because there may be particles or drop of chemicals mixed with the food that can cause food poisoning. Next is burns, scalds, and cuts. Burn and scalds are damage to the skin caused by heat. Both are treated in the same way. A burn is caused by dry heat or by an iron or fire. So the scalds is caused by something wet, by an hot water or steam, and cut is caused by the sharp things or knife. We all know that we are practiced at home no longer using hand gloves to cut the cooking needs. But in terms of the establishment in the kitchen area, they need to wear the personal protective equipment such as stainless steel, mesh hand gloves, and or gauntlets to avoid cut. The staff strictly enforce safely to prevent getting injured. But in terms of the uniform of the kitchen staff, they need to wear flame-resistant clothing by avoiding the burns, scalds, and cuts. Next is electrical. An electrical hazard is a hazardous condition in which a worker may or may not be in contact with electricity, with power equipment, or a conductor. So electricity is a serious workplace hazard that can result in serious injuries and even if the workers are not properly trained. So this electricity can cause burns, shocks, and even the death of someone or the staff. So electricity can cause burns, shocks, and even death. So in the establishment, there's a lot of appliances and power cords that can be just as dangerous as electrical power lines if it is not take proper safety precautions. In this electrical, this is not only for the establishment, that should be in the house as well and should be paid attention to and should not have an obstructed wire or trampled wire because some staff or someone may not notice it and result in an accident. So do not use electrical double adapter in any circumstances. Protect extension leads from damage or lying in a wet areas, and test and tag your portable electrical equipment. So aside from the 5 common safety hazards in the hospitality industry, there is a hierarchy of control. So now, what is hierarchy of control? Hierarchy of control is a system for controlling risk in a workplace. The hierarchy of control is a step-by-step approach to eliminating or reducing risk, and it ranks risk control from the highest level of protection and reliability through the lowest and the least reliable protection. There are hierarchy of control structure. So from the most effective in hierarchy of control is number 1 is elimination, second is substitution, third is engineering control, fourth is administrative control, and last is PPE, which is personal protective equipment. So elimination. So by eliminating hazard can be cheaper and more practical at the elimination. So eliminating hazard can be cheaper and more practical at the design or planning stage of a product, process, or workplace. In these early stages, there is more scope to design to eliminate the hazard or to include risk control measures that are compatible with the requirement of the original design and function. So the employers can eliminate hazard and risk by removing the hazard completely. For example, removing trip hazard on the floor or disposing of unwanted chemicals eliminate the risk they create. Next is substitution. It is substitute the risk with lesser risk. It means that involve replacing something that is hazardous with something that is not hazardous. Typical example is replacing a solvent-based paint with a water-based paint. So it means that it is better to use the water-based paint. It substitutes the hazard with something safer with a water-based paint. Next is engineering control. So engineering reduces the risk through engineering changes or changes to system of work. An engineering control is a control measure that is physical in nature, including a mechanical device or processes. So example of engineering control is include the trolley or to move heavy loads. For example is in the manual handling. Instead of manual handling, they use a trolley to transport or transfer the heavy items to one another. Next is administrative. Next is administrative control. So, use administrative control. Next is administrative control. So, administrative control action. Next is administrative control. So, administrative action to minimize exposure to hazard and to reduce the level of harm. Administrative control are work methods or procedure designed to minimize exposure to a hazard. In most cases, administrative control use system of work to control the risk. For example, is developing procedure on how to operate machinery safely, limiting exposure time to a hazardous task, using sign to warn people of a hazard. Last is PPE, which means personal protective equipment. PPE refers to anything employees use or wear to minimize risk to their health and safety. So the example of it are face masks, gloves, aprons, high visibility clothing, safety footwear, body suits, and protective eyewear. So protective clothing and PPE in hospitality, and especially in the catering industry, the risk of accident or injury is high in any fast-paced commercial kitchen. So wearing the right PPE will ensure employees are protected from blunt impacts, electrical hazard, heat, chemicals, and much more. And that's all for today. Thank you for watching.